Hi everybody, so this is going to be part 2 for recapping the Turbo Duo. So what I'm going to start first with is doing the through-hole caps. So there's only, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Not too many. So I'm going to be referencing to Console 5's capacitor list. This is the easiest way to do it, especially when you take all the caps off all at once. So rather than trying to remember them all, referring to the list is going to help. So first ones we're going to start at is going to be this one right here in the corner. This one you can see, to identify it, you just look down next to it and you can see that says C962, so that's capacitor 962. And according to the list, that one is a 470 microfarad 16 volt. So it's going to be one of these. And I'm just going to snip the legs right here because it's not going to matter that I do so. It's going to be a lot easier than pulling it that tape off. So on your capacitor, you have the stripe side. Stripe will be matched with that stripe right there. Just gonna thread it through. I usually give it a slight bend. Add a little bit of flex. And I'll usually just take solder just to tack on the first one so it doesn't move. Then you can fix it from there. And I'm just gonna snip the legs off with my flush cutters. Always keep a Q-tip and some IPA nearby so you can quickly get off all the excess flux if you're using a petroleum base like this one. So now we're going to move over to the side right here. We got two. We have a C136 and C163. So 136 is a 100 microfarad 16 volt, and 163 is a 100 microfarad 16 volt. So for those, we're going to be using these. Sorry for the camera shaking. And these ones are together, so we can just snip those completely off. And we're going to have the stripe side, one, like I said, once again, going to match the white stripe on the board. But for these, you have to turn it over and you'll have to lift this up a bit before you thread it through. And there's a little bit of stuck solder left in there, so. I think I got it out. Sorry I'm having to do this off camera. Just want to be able to make sure I can see what I'm doing here. All right. Just get a little bit of flux. Then add your solder. Go ahead, snip, snip. Make sure when you're clipping these legs that you're watching where the legs are flying off to. So you can have your finger resting on the leg as you're doing it, so it doesn't fly off and end up sticking to something else, possibly shorting something else out in the future. So this little sticky pad that we took off in the last video, we're just gonna cover that, put it back on, like so, right underneath, and then push this down. So now we're gonna move up towards where the heat sinks are. And you have 312 and 308 right here. So 312 is a 330 microfarad 16 volt. And that looks like this one, 330 microfarad 16 volt. I don't know if it's gonna focus or not. There you go. And that's gonna be for the 312. Then we need to just feed it on through. And then the 308 is going to be a 470 16 volt. So I should have another one that matches that same criteria, 470 16 volt right here. One of the ones we just used. Go ahead and snip that one off. See if I can get a better zoom in on what I'm doing here. Yeah, there you go. So it's gonna be right there. You don't need much flux. You just need it to be a little bit. Remember when you're soldering these, that you keep an eye on how you're applying that solder. Heat the joint first, and then feed the solder through. And your solder joints should end up looking like Hershey Kisses, not overblown bubbles or anything like that. Always clean your solder work. So now that we've done these two, we're going to be moving on to right here where the sound comes from. So we're going to do C310. 310 is a 330 volt, 310 is a 330 microfarad 16 volt. So just looking for that one real quick. It's a 220. 100s. 330, 16 volt. And that is this one right here. So with these, I like to just feed them through, and all the through hole ones for the sound area, and just solder them up all at once. So the next one after that is going to be 305. 305 is a 330 16 volt as well. .330 16 volt. As you're pushing these through, you might want to just bend the legs a tad so they don't move as you're trying to feed all these capacitors through. Next one above it, sorry for being out of camera, is this one right here, and that's 307. 307 is 470 16 volt. This will be the last one on that we were using earlier. Just gonna bend at least one of the legs to make certain that it stays. Then we have 306 right next door. Be right there. 306 is a 220 16 volt. So that should be the one I kicked off to the side. 220 16 volt. Then 301 is going to be right here. 301 is going to be, I believe, the larger cap over here. 301 is a 1000 microfarad 16 volt. So it's going to be the largest cap of the bunch, and it's going to be right there. This one is a 1025 volt, but using the same microfarad with an equal or higher voltage is okay. So keep that microfarad exactly the same. You don't want to change that, or you'll have potential issues. And then keep that voltage equal or higher. It's always good to know, because sometimes when you're looking for capacitors, you might end up only finding in stock an equal or higher voltage, and you could use it. So we have one more down here, and that is C325. 325 is 100 microfarad 10 volt. So I believe that's one of over here. No, it's not that one. Just double checking this here. 100 microfarad 10 volt. So this would be this larger bunch. And so the easiest way is to just flip it over gently so you don't rock them around too much. I'm going to just add flux just a little bit to all these points, because once this is applied, we'll be able to clean it right up. It's always good to retin your soldering iron as you're doing this, just to make sure that everything has good heat transfer. doing this under the camera is most certainly harder. But it's not the first time either. All right. Time to snip, snip, and get all those extra legs out of the way. All right, and time to clean up again. Now the rest comes down to the surface mount stuff, so I'm going to be zooming out for this. So we have quite a bit more surface mount than through hole, which is going to take quite a bit longer. So throughout this process, I may skip through certain parts just to speed it up. I'm going to quickly cover what all the points have. Like this one says, you know, C961. I'll do a couple of them on camera, and I'll just cover what the ratings are for all of them. But I may skip through and just show you once it's all done, just for the sake of the length of the video and the sake of how long this actually does take, because it will take quite a bit of time. So first one at the bottom is 961, which is a 10 microfarad 16 volt. So it's going to be smaller. Those are 22s. Those are 22s. 47. And here we go. So this is a 25 volt version, but 10 microfarad as well. And I'll show you how I do these. So basically, while it's on, see if I can focus a little bit. While it's on this board and it's been taped down on the other side, what I usually do is I'll take my flush cutters and I'll pretty much clip it right across where the bend happens, right there. So I'll cut it. And as you can see now, you're left with just the two little legs. But if we go back to the board, right here, you can add a little bit of flux, just a little bit, and you'll hold the cap with your fingers, remembering that the stripe side will go to the flat portion over here, not that rounded section. So it's indicating that it is the negative side. And to make this easier, of course, I'm going to add a tiny bit of solder to my iron real quick and tin it. You'll just hold it down. Let me see if I can try to do this like that. If you can see it, you just hold it down. Hold your iron, let go. Your iron, let go. As you can see now, it's standing perfectly. And I could try to get this also on camera from the side. Maybe it'll be a little easier for you to see. So the next one is going to be C159. And that is going to be right there. 159 is a 22 microfarad 6 volt. It's going to be one of the smaller ones. 22 microfarad 6 volt. Got them. So like I said, chop it off right at that bend. See if I can get a better angle of this. Let me reset the camera. So I'm going to do my best to do this now with the camera pretty much in front of me. So let's see if I can hold this from above a little bit better. So it's going to be sitting. Yeah, this is going to be very difficult because my hands are slipping. But you're going to want to, hold on. Let me grab something else to hold this. So I'm going to try doing it this way. So you pretty much have it where you're holding it and you can rock it in and just get that one side down. And then you can come in from the other side. This is why using a chisel tip makes this a little bit easier. And you can use your finger then to key the other side and kind of push down as well. And that's why my fingers are sticky from the flex. So zoom out. And you can see there, now it's done. So now that we've got that one, I'm going to be going over pretty much the rest of them, and I may come back if there's like anything where I feel like it needs attention in terms of letting you know any good pointers. It is good sometimes to do certain casts before others. So let's say if I'm moving over into this section over here, you want to be able to do this most inner corner one before that one, because it's going to be much easier to fit your soldering iron into this small space first than having this in the way and then doing that. Some people may make that mistake recapping this for the first time, so it's going to be a lot easier in that sense. So I'm going to be covering, I'm going to be doing the rest of this one, and I will come back if there is something that I feel needs some attention to. So I've done a couple more, but when it comes to, let's say, capacitors that are not on the cardboard and it's just loose like this, I like to bend them so it's pretty much doing like the splits. Then you just cut off, you know, just pretty close to it. I'll show you in a second how close I cut. About like that. This one is going to go right back there. So sometimes the leg might be a tad long if you cut it because your might not be perfect, but you can always clip it, get the extra off. Let's see if I can, and ta-da, it's on. All right, Try to keep that a little bit away from the white connector right there, just because you don't want any interference with the harnesses when you put them back. So I'm going to continue once again. One thing I really do want to point out is when you're going across the board, you'll notice that some of them, the negative side will be flat. You can see it down here. And as you're moving up, it might be on the side. And then you see over here, these ones are upside down in terms of where the negative is. You can see that. And then if you move over to the left, right over here, they've gone the other way around. So be very careful about looking at the polarity as you're doing these, because you just don't want to end up putting them in backwards and then fire up the console and have something wrong happen. So the rest of the board is pretty much done, but I'm going to film these last few down here. Just quickly get a little flux over them. Majority of these cap are repeat specifications here. Like there's 4 in a row of same stuff. See if I can get that in there. It's kind of hard to do this with the camera. Let me just double check real quick, since it is very difficult to see with the camera in front of me. Just gotta snip its leg a bit. A little too long. All right, now number 679 is 100 microfarad 6 volts. So we're gonna use the 100 microfarad 10 volt. Last one from this. It's gonna be going right there. Let me see if I can actually turn this around. It might be easier to see. It's very difficult to get, because with the angle I need to solder, it's very difficult to get it lined up. Next one we have, let's see what the number is, 675. 675 is a 4.7 microfarad 16 volt. So got 4 of those right here. I'm just gonna double check. 4.7. So this is a 4.7 50 volt. But that voltage is okay to use. Might be hearing the trash truck outside. And there we go, now you can see it. I want to make sure the negative is on the right side. You know what, that leg is going to be a little bit long, so let me trim it. My hand slips quite a bit from the angle I have to hold these caps at. So the next one is, let's see, it's kind of hard to read. 674. That's another 4.7. Just gonna going to cut these legs. The next couple should also be 4.7 as well. Got 670 and the 671. Also the same. Okay, so this will finish off our 4.7s. So I'm just going to snip these both at the same time so I don't have to come back and do it again. Double checking. All right, we got 2 more caps and we're done. And the last one should be, see, it's 884, 22 microfarad, 16 volt. Another one of these little brown ones. That negative goes that side. And there you go. All right, so the recap is basically done. But there is these 2 tiny, tiny ones that are included in the cap kits from Console 5. And those are for the jail bar fix. So I'm going to do another video on how to do the jail bar fix using these. Specifically because many people are curious about the jail bar fix, and it'll be easier for that those individuals to search. So as you can see, the whole board is recapped, and I hope this video was helpful to you. Have a good day.